important it was for you to win the Golden Gloves?
Well, the first year that I tried winning the Golden Gloves, I lost my very first fight. That really knocked me down. Yeah, Um, so I said, I want to fight the guy again. It was a close decision that I lost. And then I went to an opening, like an open show, and where where all the fighters from all various gyms, they'll come together and they have these boxing matches, for
Yeah.
people to see.
Yeah.
So I wanted him, They
Yeah.
wanted to give me somebody else, but I wanted the rematch with the guy that beat me the first time. So when
Right.
I fought him again, I beat his butt really good. It was unanimous decision. And I felt vindicated. So then I wind up having to face my brother in the finals. The moment he won his first fight, and I won my first fight, the newspapers, the daily news began to build on the prospects that if the brothers keep winning, they're going to wind up facing each other at the Garden.
Right. Right.
Lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. And me and my brother, we had wars at the gym.
Yeah.
So I thought, this would be a war between two brothers.
Yeah.
But they decided to make us co-champions because they wouldn't let two brothers fight one another.
Right.
To be honest, as I wrote in my book, I was not very happy to feel like a half a champion. I was ready to fight my brother.
Yeah.
And but then after when they decided, then I felt really good about not having fought them. As much as they wanted to see two brothers battle it out, they were really happy that we didn't.
Right.
And that showed me how people were really nice people, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And now you won the gloves a second time, right?
Yes, I won the 135-pound open class the following year. I whizzed through that one. That was an easy. I beat everybody
Yeah.
rather handily. And I think that was one point in my life that I think I finally made it, as I felt like I was really somebody important that I could win the Golden Gloves again,
Yeah.
without anything getting in the way. Having grown up in a in a in a in a in a Puerto Rican family, we were poor, and nothing good ever came to us. But I made sure that I was going to do something with myself and make something of myself somehow.
Yeah.
And the boxing just kind of opened up for everything else that came later on.
For someone who's never been in the Gramercy Gym, describe what the Gramercy Gym was like for people.
Well, yeah, well, at first I was going through there to visit, because I was still an amateur boxer and it was a professional boxing gym. After I won the Golden Glove second time, I told a friend that I want to train with the pros. And I remember, having dinner with your father and a couple of his policemen friends, a
Yeah.
couple of cops that were his friend. I guess they grew up together.
Yeah.
So we'd go downstairs underneath the gym and we'd have a steak, and they would have me there as well. And I, it's like things that occurred to me that made me feel good really helped me help my ego and helped me to attain more what was happening to me. And I liked it. I
Yeah.
liked the fame, the recognition. I think the Raging Bull was shot there for a time, I think.
Yes.
Remember
Yes, that's
Raging
correct.
Bull?
Yeah.
Bob De
It
Niro.
was.
Yeah, they went there, as a matter of fact. And I remember, watching them shoot and everything. And that De Niro, I knew from another friend of mine. So we like kind of became friends. And I would just go up there and watch them film and everything.
Yeah.
I was excited to be there to see De Niro.
Let me ask you about a couple of characters from the Gramercy Gym. What do you remember about Patty Flood?
Patty Flood, he was crazy about me, Patty Flood. And Patty Flood, he was a great guy, boy. He really cared for me. He wanted to be my trainer, but I wouldn't leave Vern,
Right.
DePaul. I was a kid in need of so much, having faced a lot of problems throughout my young life.
Yeah.
Uh, so not getting the attention that I wanted and needed from my parents and everything, because they were struggling, trying to make ends meet, you know. But the one thing that boxing did was just open up all the doors for me to walk through, and
Right.
and do what I needed to do in order that I can be successful. You
Right.
know,
Right.
and as far as training goes, I was always in shape whenever I fought.
two big wins for you, very local New York rivalry, the wins against Harold Weston.
Oh yeah.
What did those wins mean to you?
Well, it was I was happy to fight him for one thing, and he was a welterweight. I was really a junior welterweight, and he's a good fighter. We fought the first fight, and I won by a split decision, 1 point. And that's from the knockdown that I gave him about the 6th round or so. That was the 1 point that gave me the win, and then we fought again, and I beat him unanimously.
Let me ask you about another big win that you had in your career. I think a win and a draw, but a very good fighter, Irish Pat Murphy. Tell me about that fight and what that meant for you.
Well, there was 2 fights here. I beat him at that arena in New Jersey. I forget what you call it. And then I fought him again at the Fall Forum. They had asked him, about me fighting me and losing to me. He says, "Oh, am I saying that I won the fight? Oh yeah, it was a split decision actually."
Yeah.
And I was saying that I really won that fight. So they asked him, "What do you think about that?" He says, "Well, that's what they teach him in acting school."
You were fighting in the Felt Forum in the Garden. You were ranked number 5 in the world. What
Yeah.
How was that for you at that time? Were you happy at that time? Was that a happy time?
Yeah, yeah, I was really happy, but I knew that someday I'm gonna have to retire because I was also acting at the same time as I was fighting. I was
Right,
doing plays and boxing at the same time. So I felt that I had to give up one career in order to pursue the career that I really wanted, which
right.
was the acting. That was one of the things that I was meant to do, and boxing opened the doors for me to do that. I wanted to be an actor.
Yeah.
I love being on stage and working with other actors, and being somebody who wasn't me, and that was really good. And I was studying the method
Yeah.
from Eli Kazan. Eli Kazan was one of my coaches actually, and so the acting pretty much took precedence over my boxing career. So when I fought Ken Buchanan, which was the last fight
Right.
I had, I knew ahead of time that that was gonna be my last fight. I was gonna take the money and go to Hollywood. And Vern didn't even know that. I just kept it to myself. It happened pretty easily for me. Once I got there, they opened the doors for me to walk through, and boom, I walked through them, and I dazzled them. And I was very proud of my work as well.
Yeah.
And I studied really hard, to get there.
Let me ask you about one more fight before we go more into the acting. You beat the
Okay.
European champion Percy Hales. It was
Yes, and knocked them out.
yeah. Just talk about that win and what that meant to you at that time.
I was surprised. That's something like that I would beat a guy like that. He was a journeyman fighter. He fought everybody who was anybody, and the fact that I beat him and knocked him out was something that was really amazing. And the applause that I received after that fight was amazing. I mean, it was at the Fall Forum actually, and the noise of happiness can be heard everywhere. It was like deafening my ear. They
Yeah.
were so happy, and they put me on. Everybody, they were running toward me, and some of the guards had to push them away, because they wanted to get to me. They wanted to touch me and everything else and shake my hand. And I didn't get to do any of that. I had to go. They literally rushed me to the dressing room. I knew that if I keep winning, I will be a world champion. But that wasn't important to me. You know,
Mhm.
what was important to me was I wanted to be an actor.
Let me ask you about Barney Miller. I remember you from being on Barney Miller, and tell me about the experience being on Barney Miller, what that was like.
Well, that was one of the first jobs that I got when I first came out to LA. When they auditioned me for the character. Well, I had the script maybe a couple of days before I read for the producer, and I did such a great performance acting it out for the producers, and they hired me right there on the spot. And then so we shot the pilot, And apparently it wasn't accepted by ABC, so they reshot the pilot and brought me back out to LA because I was in New York at the time, because I was doing a soap opera in New York, actually. That was that, I did the Barney Miller, and everybody loved it. I was really good. And I got really great reviews in the LA Times, And then I got cast for a soap opera, which is going to be a running role, a lead role in the soap opera. I'm the first Puerto Rican ever to have a lead role in in a soap opera. I got a call from my agent and says, "Hey, they want you for soap opera." And I said, "Really?" I said, "It's in New York." And I was so happy because I was really missing New York.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
went back to New York and I was able to do soap opera. I did it for about a year every day,
Oh, wow.
and people were coming up to me and said, "Hey, you're Paco from so and so, Felicia for Pora," it was called.
Now, you also landed a part in Dog Day Afternoon. What was that like?
Yeah, yeah. Well, let me tell you about that's another funny story. When I got hired for the role, I didn't have to read or anything. They I wasn't reading for anything anymore because they was just calling me and I had these jobs. So they called me and they told my agent they want you for Dog Day Afternoon. So when I got on the set, Al Pacino found out that I was playing the role because I beat him up in the movie.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
found out that Chu Chu Malave was assigned to play that character. He was scared to shit. He thought I was gonna really beat the hell out of him. He thought I may slip a punch and hit him really for real. So when I got to meet him, he put his arm around me, and I was like his best friend. You know,
Yeah, yeah.
it was like he was palling around with me and everything like that. And he's my best friend, and he kept reminding me, "Hey, be sure you don't hit me." You know. I said, "Don't worry, man. I'm going to pull my punches." He didn't know what that meant. He was terrified. But anyway, so we shot it. And Sidney Lumet was the director. And after we shot that scene, one take is all it took. And Sidney Lumet said, he yelled out, he says, "That's a wrap." And he loved what I did.
Let me ask you about another one. You were in a movie with Barbra Streisand and Ryan O'Neal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was fun. Ryan O'Neal knew all about me, actually. He's Chu Chu Malave. And Barbra Streisand heard about me as well. When I first met her, we were talking, and the way I was articulating myself, she knew that she wanted me for the role right away. She said, "You got the role." I says, "Really, Barbara?" So Barbara and I, we became really good friends on the set. We talk about love and we talk about a lot of different things. And and there was an incident in which I was sparring with Ryan O'Neal, the director wanted my headgear, and he wanted me to leave it on, right? So I said, "I'm not going to leave it on, man. I want I want people to see who I am. So Barbara Streisand and he had an argument. So she tells me, "So cute. Why are you going to let him, have him, leave that thing on? You don't see his face." Yeah. So she overruled him. And
Yeah,
Ron O'Neal, we became really good friends.
yeah.
You
He was a
know, so
boxing fan. He was a big boxing fan, right?
yeah, yeah. We would have these wars in the ring because, well, for about a week, I was going there before we actually started shooting. I was with him for about a week, and we would spar, you know,
Yeah.
in the ring, and we would go all out. But then after that, it was like I'd hang out with him in one of his trailers.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just hang out, and he was smoking weed, and I wasn't at the time.
Yeah.
And it was really nice. And Barbara, she loved me. She sent me a couple of her albums. I've had nothing but great experiences after boxing when it came to the business. And everybody really wanted me to make it. But for some reason, just things didn't turn out right for me. And that was just part of something that I had to go through in order to be the person I am today.
Yeah.
You don't get everything you want. You have to work hard to get what you need.
You really bare your soul in the book. You really go to places that, some people wouldn't talk about, but there was nothing that you left out. There was nothing that was off. Yeah, there it is. Go ahead, put it up. So let me see it. Yep, there it is. Yeah. How was that process for you to kind of bare your soul to the world in that book? Tell me
Well, let
about.
me tell you, it took me about 13 years to write this book because I was dealing with a lot of things that I of my past. That was really hard. I cried a lot when I wrote this book. You know, um, so it was. it was 13 years on and off because I had to take time off. Sometimes it was really tough for me to actually be so honest and say, and I kind of pretty much relived a lot of the experiences that I went through in my mind, you know?
Yeah.
So that was a tough one, but I finished it and it turned out really well. And, you know, I told my story, you know, and people just loving the book. I mean, I'm getting 5-star reviews from people that have read the book. I'm really happy that I wrote the book, and I really can't believe that I wrote it. Sometimes I pick it up and I'll read excerpts, and I will say to myself, "Gee, did I write that?" People have often told me, like my friends, he says, "You know, your calling in life was not boxing or acting; it was writing." I'm really happy now, and I was able to put together a nice retirement package. I was a teacher for you know about over 25 years, you know, and I was working with kids who had special needs, you know, and I taught them how to go about learning without allowing the handicap get in the way, you know. The
Yeah.
kids that I run into in the street, they come running up to me, and now they're a lot bigger now. They're young men, and
Yeah.
say, yeah, Mr. Malave, you were such a good teacher, and you were very funny. You always made us laugh. That's the other thing that I like doing is to make people laugh, you know. So what I would do whenever I got a class to work with, I would put on one of my boxing matches, you know, and the kids would be wondering, well, why is he showing us this, you know? And then they would say, wait a minute, that's you. That's how I got that respect.
Let me ask you one last question. Where
Yeah.
did your nickname come from? How did you get the nickname Choo Choo?
Well, you know, it's funny. My real name is Edwin. My parents called me Edwin, but then for some reason he called me Chu Chu, and I was saying, and I like that name much more, you know. And so my father called me Chu Chu, and Chu Chu, and there I was Chu Chu. I was no longer Edwin, you know. I didn't like the name Edwin. It sounded too like corny,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, so he called me Chu Chu, and well, in Spanish it's Chucho, you know. So I changed it to Chu Chu, CHU, as opposed to CHO, you know. I
Does-
had no meaning at all. Just that my father called me Chu Chu because I was very close to my dad, you know,
Yeah.
closer to him than I was with my mother.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to be called Chucho, you
Yeah.
know. So I called myself Chu Chu.